Looking at its only option out of the all-absolving financial crisis, Sri Lanka will soon restructure thousands of companies as agreed under the IMF bailout deal. And topping the list are the airlines. How will the restructuring impact the country's money drainer, its biggest airline company? We find out.
The Sri Lankan Airlines is among the dozens of companies that can soon be restructured, even closed. Under IMF's bailout deal with the South Asian nation, the state-owned airlines employing nearly 6,000 people is on top of the list of reforms as it continues to bleed money. The airline has not made profits for over a decade, and as per country's treasury figures, the carrier is at present losing $4.5 for every dollar it earned at the beginning of 2022. Sri Lanka defaulted on its $51 billion debt in April this year, worsening its financial woes and bringing the country neck-deep in the arduous process of renegotiating its obligations with the creditors. In its nearly $3 billion bailout package, the International Monetary Fund set certain deals which are yet to be released to the public. But what's certain is that it will come with the usual conditions of painful reforms, some of which might force the country to consumer subsidies and privatize or even close underperforming state firms.
Today, people are very clear. We are a bankrupt country. We have not been able to service our debt, and the reality has struck home. Now people are forced to look at this reality.
Sri Lankan Airlines' future is Colombo's most urgent priority. Last month, the government instructed the Finance Ministry to begin its restructuring, ideally by attracting outside investment. But finding a company willing to pour money into the airline will be immensely challenging, especially considering its history of interference, mismanagement and turbulent partnerships.
And the strategic investors in particular, which would be like another airline from another country, has been done in the past for Sri Lankan and has been done in the past for other airlines. But the track record for these investments is very bad. And there's not many foreign airlines, particularly in this post-COVID environment, that are even looking or considering acquiring stakes in airlines overseas, with Sri Lankan, being, not a particularly attractive option, even if they were looking.
The chairman of the airline acknowledges that the current balance sheet is not an attractive proposition. But he says that the carrier can settle at least half of its liabilities by splitting off and selling business arms. This includes its virtual monopoly on catering and ground halting at Colombo Airport.
If you try to, privatize the whole thing, people will come and, ask the government to, take half of the debt write-off. So I think where are they going to write off? I mean, who's going to take that liability? So in that sense, and also at the same time, if you try to privatize the whole thing, I believe that's a process of at least minimum 1 to 1.5 years' time.
Even the trade unions are in support. Leaders and employees say they are in favor of restructuring on the required lines, but with one condition: no jobs should be cut. But selling off the profitable divisions is not as easy as it sounds. It can most likely leave rump operations generating even bigger losses for the government, serving no solution to the financial crisis while risking a worse situation for Colombo.
Sri Lanka's national airline, SriLankan Airlines, has been one of the largest loss-making entities for the Sri Lankan government over the past decade, with its current losses exceeding well over billions of rupees, with the IMF now advising the cash-strapped island to make much more stringent economic policies. It will be evident that in the coming few months, Sri Lankan Airlines will be faced with tough decisions in the future. Reporting for WION World is one from Colombo. I'm Dasania Kauda.